This is DW News, live from Berlin. A caravan of migrants enters Mexico on its way to the United States, ignoring warnings from President Trump to stay away. Crowds have broken through the border from Guatemala, overwhelming police. President Trump has threatened to cut aid to any country that allows the migrants through. Mexico is appealing to the United Nations to intervene. Also on the programme, the killing of a powerful police commander sends shockwaves through Afghanistan and casts a shadow over parliamentary elections this weekend. As General Abdul Razak is laid to rest, voting in Kandahar province is suspended. The European Union's top court orders Warsaw to reinstate Supreme Court judges who have been forced into retirement. The EU says Poland's new law, which triggered mass protests this year, is a threat to judicial independence. And in football, Bayern Munich's head office comes out swinging at the press. A fierce attack against German media in an extraordinary press conference. We'll hear why Bayern are criticising journalists for the way they treat their players. I'm Phil Gale. Welcome to the programme. Thousands of Central American migrants have broken through Guatemala's border with Mexico as they head north to the United States. They set off from Honduras last weekend. In the last few hours, some of them are reported to have torn down a border gate to get to a bridge between Guatemala and Mexico. Mexico has called for assistance from the United Nations as tensions with Washington escalate over this crisis. Now, earlier, President Trump had a warning for Mexico and the Guatemalan migrants.
I just want to thank the Mexican government because they're stopping it, hopefully, before it ever gets to Mexico. As you know, I'm willing to send the military to defend our southern border if necessary.
Well, let's bring in DW's Washington correspondent, Maya Schrader. Welcome, Maya. It was bad enough when the American government was locking up migrants' children. Are they really going to send soldiers to shoot at tired, hungry people?
Well, this is something that Donald Trump loves to talk about when he's at these big rallies that he's giving all over the country right now because of the upcoming midterm elections, which is really just this umbrella hanging over everything and really defining everything that's happening in U.S. politics right now. This is something that Trump can very much point to as part of his immigration policy, his foreign policy. From the beginning of his campaign, or one of the biggest points of his campaign, was building this wall with Mexico, and now he has this caravan and others like it that he can point to and say, see, this is why we need this. It's also very much changing Mexican politics, we should say. We have a changeover of power that's going to be happening in Mexico shortly. And while the current president is saying he wants to work with the United States on issues like this, the incoming president is saying, no, we're not going to let the U.S., we're not going to do the dirty work of the U.S. for them. They have to do it themselves. So this is an evolving problem that doesn't look like there's an end in sight, and it's going to be changing the policies of both these countries very strongly to come.
As you say, with midterm elections on the way, Mexico certainly is aware of that backdrop and is clearly not taking President Trump's threats too seriously. Here's the Foreign Minister, Luis Videgaray.
The United States is in the middle of an election campaign. In less than 3 weeks' time, there are elections, and I believe that we must weigh up those types of declarations. We need to put them into context and not give them greater importance.
So, Maya, picking up on your earlier point there, could it be then that these events are actually helping President Trump?
Well, as we said, this is definitely something he can point to, and this is definitely going to become a talking point as we get closer and closer to these elections, because the sorts of images that we're seeing of people rushing the border very much bolster this narrative that he likes to promote of people invading the country, and supports his immigration policy of needing to take the country back and keep people like this out. Now, he's also made comments about needing to fix the southern border, that we have a horrendous immigration policy that needs reform. And this is something that Democrats actually do agree with Republicans on, that the immigration in the United States, the immigration policies need reform, but it's a huge difference of opinion as to exactly how these things need reform. And issues like this just apply more pressure to these situations and these type of policies.
Maya Schwede in Washington, thank you. Afghanistan holds parliamentary elections tomorrow, but